Okay. So we're gonna get straight into it today. Because before we come into any kind of practice, I want to speak a bit um, on a theme it's come up with different people, different groups of people in different ways this past week, and I think it's just worth speaking about. So go ahead and get comfortable, get settled. When we get to the point of the practice where we're actually doing some breathing and a little bit of pranayam, ideally we'll be seated for that. If you're in a situation where you can't be seated and you need to be lying down, that's okay. I will give some accommodations if that's the case. But get comfortable, as comfortable as you can in a seated position, and set yourself up to receive a little bit. So I'm gonna speak for the first bit of today's session. And so if that means closing your eyes, if that means settling in, if that means staying focused and watching me, you can stay focused and watch me, however you want to be, so that you can receive a little bit, start to contemplate a little bit, right? So I want to talk about this experience of being a seeker, being on the seeker's path or the seeker's journey, and the loneliness that can come when we embark on this journey. And those of you who are here are seekers. Those of you who are watching this later are seekers. And maybe you don't identify as that just yet. Maybe you do. There can be different relationships with how we see ourselves as spiritual beings. I had a lot of resistance for a very long time to think of myself in that way because I did not grow up in any sort of spirituality or religion. And so, this idea of having a spiritual essence, I had a lot of resistance to that. And I know that for a lot of people, religion and spirituality and the ways in which we were raised, there can be a lot of internal conflict about identifying as being a bit of a spiritual pilgrim. And that's what you are, right? And not everybody in this lifetime is one. Not everybody goes on the seeker's journey. Not everybody goes on the path of the seeker, of self-actualization. And there's different ways that we can talk about this. There's different terminology, phrases, words that get used in spirituality, in religious groups, and so something might click for you, something might agitate you. There could be different vocabulary that you prefer to use. So just try to stay open to the way that I'm intending to explain it. So at some point in life, some of us wake up, right? And there's this moment, and it doesn't happen, there's no set time. It's not like, oh, you're 5, you go to kindergarten, you're 17, 18, you graduate from high school. No, the seeker's journey starts at any point in time. So some people started very young, some people start very old, but there comes a moment where that whisper inside in your heart, in your soul, gets a little too loud to ignore. And you start to question why. Why am I this way? Why are things this way? Who am I? What am I here for? What does it all mean, right? Those are the questions that put us on the path. And this idea of self-actualization um, is really this idea of walking this path to become who you were always meant to be, right? So some version of you that deep inside you know exists, this thing that you were brought here to do, this calling that is written on your heart and no one else's. And it doesn't have to be some grandiose thing where you're saving tens of thousands of lives. No, but there is a thing that is unique to you that you offer, your gift. And when we start on this path of the seeker, when we start to self-actualize, there can be an experience, and I would say more often than not, of deep loneliness because we realize that not everyone that we've accumulated along the way is joining us on this path. And it doesn't mean that we have to get rid of friends. It doesn't mean that we have to, break up or end a relationship or quit a job or move away, though oftentimes we do. Um, and we can still send a lot of love to people as we say goodbye to them. And there can be this feeling of isolation because two things are really happening, right? One is that certain people and certain dynamics and certain relationships start to fall away. They start to leave you. You can't take them all with you because maybe they weren't that healthy to begin with. There's some element that is limiting you from continuing on this path. And the other aspect of the isolation is that as you become more comfortable with yourself, and that is part of the journey, is learning to sit with yourself, learning to go inside and know yourself more deeply, understand your inner world, be less afraid of your own mind, right? And as you go deeper inside and you get more comfortable sitting with yourself, you probably get more comfortable spending time alone. And being alone does not have to equate being lonely, though there often is that transition period where it can be quite shocking to the system if you were someone who was always social and out and you had a lot of friends and you had a lot of distractions. And that's not to say that having friends is a distraction in a negative way. But again, as we learn to know ourselves, we need more time alone. We need more solitude. We need more quiet. The external stimulation stops feeling so appealing because we want to hear that quiet whisper that is written on our heart. And it's hard to hear that when there's a lot of other voices always talking. So I can speak for myself that when my life sort of ruptured about 9 years ago, it started falling apart from what it had always been. And there was an unbecoming of the person that I had become. And there have been periods of deep loneliness and isolation in that time. And some friendships have survived it, right? Have navigated it, have evolved with it. Others didn't make it, and that's okay. And what I found is that as other people started to fall away in other relationships, and I went through this sort of isolation, this sort of shrinking of my social abilities, I started to find community in different ways, in different places, right? A lot of it was virtual, it was going to online meditations, um, which can still feel isolating, even though there is some community there. And then I was even living in an isolated place up on a mountain in a very remote part of Costa Rica. And my only interactions were really going to a wellness conference or a yoga training. And so I would have like 4 to 7 days where I would then drop in with a group of other seekers who were very intentionally coming together and also experiencing this sense of isolation in their everyday lives, feeling like a bit of an outsider or maybe an oddball. And so this time that we would have together, these 4 to 7 days of really being fully seen in community with other people who get it, right? And then recharging the battery and remembering that there are other seekers out there. So, as isolating as it can feel to be on this path almost alone in a lot of ways, there is this remembrance when we do come together, even in a small group like this online here, just seeing names or faces, that there are other people out there who are walking this path. There are other seekers. There are people who get it. There are people you can really drop in with because they are learning themselves like you are learning yourself. And I do believe that the isolation and the loneliness, once we make friends with that, we can start to embody that difference between alone and lonely, right? And there are going to be a lot of phases on this journey as the seeker where you will be alone. And my hope is that through building some community in this way, is that even when you are alone, you remember that we are also here with you so that you don't feel so lonely. So I just wanted to speak about that because it's come up a few times in some different settings with different people who are not connected except maybe through me, but don't even know that there is that connection. And there is a sensation of that right now. And I struggle with it. I'm not, beyond that or done with that. I've just like 2 weeks ago, I was messaging a friend who lives in another country talking about how I had no friends and I felt so lonely. And then this week, suddenly I have a bunch of things lined up with people. And so it comes and it goes, right? So it's just a reminder to myself as much as to you all that there are other seekers. There are other people on this path. You are not alone, as isolated as it might feel sometimes. And as we become more aware of what we're experiencing, my hope is that you also become more intentional with who you do spend your time with. So it might be that the interactions with people are fewer and far between, yet when they come, they're more meaningful. And you might not be there yet or right now, and that's okay too. So let's just take a moment. Let's sit with that. Let's maybe shake it off if you need to, maybe roll the shoulders out a little bit if you need to. Maybe take some deep breaths in through the nose and then out the mouth, like very forceful. Let's come back to the physical body. So coming into our seated shape. Again, if you can't be seated for this, if you're lying down, that's okay. Just think about the spine being nice and long. So lying down long, seated long, just a nice long spine. Think about like we're unkinking a garden hose. See if you can soften the shoulders, soften the neck. Again, if that brought up any tension for you, feel free to keep moving it out. If you're able to close the eyes, I invite you to close the eyes if they're not already closed. And let's just sit with where we're at right now in our lives with our experience of connection, with our experience of loneliness, with our experience of community or lack thereof, where we are, what we're navigating when it comes to friendship, relationship, connection. And if you're in a difficult phase right now, just know that I see you. I have been there. I have been there very recently. I also struggle with that. And this is my reminder to myself. This is my reminder to you that we do have each other. And it can take a while. It can take a while to find our tribe. And we do have to put energy into it. And as we get to know ourselves as old versions of ourselves or personas that we may have created to survive a situation or because we thought that we had to be a certain way, something that was put upon us, an expectation from our parents, an expectation from society, an expectation from friends, from partners, from lovers. As those older versions or personas of self fall away and we have to get to know ourselves again, that can be an opportunity to form new connections, intentional connections. So you can picture a tree, picture any kind of tree that you want, any kind of tree. A nice, tall, big tree. Not a baby, not a sapling, a very sturdy tree, right? Deep roots. Deep, 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 deep roots. This tree is not falling over. And however you see the branches, however you are seeing the leaves, the growth, whatever is on the tree, picture the tree with none of its leaves. No leaves, no flowers, no fruit, just the branches, bare branches. Sturdy tree, thick trunk, deep roots, bare branches. Sturdy tree, thick trunk, deep, deep, deep roots, bare branches. And the tree might sit like that for many, many years, but the deep roots are there. And then one day the season shifts and the new growth starts. So start to see the growth, the green, the buds, the leaves emerging, that new, fresh, bright green. Maybe your tree is a pine tree, something with needles. Maybe it's got leaves. Maybe it's got fruit or flowers, and you start to see the new growth. And now you see the tree full of life, full of fresh, new beginnings. Sturdy tree, thick trunk, solid, deep, 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 deep roots. And these wide, full, beautiful branches. And then the season starts to change and the leaves change color and they begin to fall one by one, floating to the ground. And again, the branches are bare, but the roots are still deep. Deep roots, sturdy, solid, thick trunk, bare branches. And then one day the season changes and the new growth starts again. That vibrant green of new, fresh life. And now you see the tree full of leaves, of fruit, of flowers, of the birds that come to sit on the branches, of the butterflies. If you're in Costa Rica, the iguanas, the squirrels, all of the animals that come now to the trees. And keeping that vision in your mind's eye of this tree, strong, thick trunk, sturdy, full branches, full of life, drawing in different life, inviting to come sit. And these deep, 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 deep roots. That solid foundation, unshakable. With that vision in your mind's eye, start to breathe a little bit more deeply here. So inhaling through the nose, exhaling out the nose or the mouth. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling out the nose or the mouth. Softening in the shoulders, softening in the neck, softening any tension anywhere in the body. Continue to breathe deeply, drawing the air in through the nose. Exhaling out the nose or the mouth. As you draw the air in, start to imagine the deep roots coming out of you, grounding down into where you're seated, into where you are. And then as you exhale, see your own branches extending out in all directions, full of fresh life. So inhale to see the roots grounding further into the earth below you. Exhale and watch your branches extend out in all directions, full of life, inviting in others to come to sit in your branches, sit in your shade, to eat the fruits, to smell the flowers. Inhale, watch your roots grow deep Exhale. See your branches extend wide. Inhale, deep root. Exhale, wide branches. Inhale, deep root. Exhale, wide branches. You can keep working with this imagery if you like. If you're ready to release the vision of the tree, you can release it. And for the last few moments, we're going to connect with our community. So I invite you to think of people near or far, living or deceased, who you love and whose love you can feel right now. Keep breathing deeply here, starting to call into your heart, your people, your tribe. Maybe speak their names silently, maybe say it out loud. Feel them in your heart space. If it's helpful to place a hand on your heart, you can do that. Drawing in, sending your love to them. Maybe they need it. And feeling their love coming back to you. Don't overthink it. When a name pops into your mind, write it on your heart. Send it to your heart. And if today is a difficult day to connect with that sense of community, that sense of love, if today there is only one name or two names, just repeat those names. If today you're able to feel quite blessed in how many people you love and in how many people love you, see how many you can write on your heart and acknowledge that blessing. Remembering that there are times when our leaves are full and flush and we are blooming with flowers and fruit, and everyone is coming to sit in and under our branches. And then there are times where our branches are barren. We might feel quite alone and quite isolated, but we still have our deep roots. And we have each other, and we do have this community, and there are seekers out there. And even if you only spent 5 days with someone in the flesh, that love and that connection is still there to be called upon whenever you need it. Let's close the practice with 3 rounds of Brahmari breath. Let's do one complete round of breath before we move into Brahmari breath. So exhale wherever you are. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Inhale, fill all the way up. Take a full exhale all the way down and out. And now inhale for 3 rounds of Brahmari breath. When you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Take a look around your space, connecting with where you are in this physical moment. Just a reminder that even if you feel alone or isolated in your physical location where you are right now, you are not alone. There is a web of connection, and you can tap into it. And there are other seekers on the same path. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. If you feel like you need to reach out to someone, you can reach out to me, send me a message. And I'm sending you all some love. Thank you for being here. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.